Hello, I'm Joe. Thanks for stopping and being neighborly. Please have a seat and visit with my lovely wife, Elma, and my daughter, Marietta. Of course, we call her Marie. But then I called my daughters and my granddaughters baby. My parents, Louis and Louisa, were born in a village near Ghent, Belgium. They had a small farm, about 8 acres, which was typical size for Belgium. My folks immigrated to the United States in 1878 for the cheap land, $10 an acre, and better opportunities for the family. Our family settled near Oconto, where they worked hard building shelter and clearing land for a farm. I'm one of 11 children born to Louis and Louisa, and it sure appears that I'm born with an adventuresome streak. I spent my young years working in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the logging and in northern Wisconsin. I end up in a sawmill up on Lake Superior where I'm laid off, and I head back to Oconto. It sure seems Oregon's beckoning. Our neighbors had sold their farm and they were heading to Oregon. I talked it over with my dad, and he said he had my two younger brothers to help with the farm, so I could head out. We board the Northwestern train. The fare to Portland, Oregon is $40. Of course, I was leaving behind lovely gal Elma that I had met at the dances they had for young people when I was in town. In Oregon, I worked many different jobs. I work in a cement factory. I work in an iron factory. I finally end up in the big timberland. I communicate by mail with Elma and the family, but I get tired of that after a few years, and I decide it's time to go home for a while. So I tell my boss, I'll be gone a couple of months, then I'll be back. Elma and I are married in Oconto on July 24th, 1910. We honeymooned on our trip back to Scappoose, Oregon.
I'm Elma Berry, and I was born in Oconto, Wisconsin, small town. I'm a city girl. I have 6 sisters and 1 brother. I was born in 1891, June 12th. I can play the piano. I'm really good at penmanship, but I can't cook. And Joe doesn't know this. I learned what I have to say is my mother, we were not wealthy, and with a large family, she couldn't afford to take a chance on spoiling the food by trying to teach us how to cook. So none of my sisters or I learned how to cook. I learned to bake, I learned to can. I become very good at it. We never go hungry, and we always eat well. In the 8 years that we're in Scappoose, Oregon, we start out in a tent. And Joe has to go work for the logging, and he's not home every night. And so during that time, we end up having 3 children. We were able to move from the tent and build a very small log home. Joe and I would both say those were the happiest years of our life. Our daughter Llewellyn was born while we were in Scappoose, and our little precious Emma, who only lived to be 17 days old. And then our first son, Joe Jr.
My sister, Emma, had married a lumberjack friend, and they were trying their hand at farming in Niagara. They quickly became disillusioned with the hardships, and we realized we were missing many of life's blessings being so far from family and friends. We broached the idea of a trade with my sister and husband. They agreed to trade properties, sight unseen. We took possession of 40 acres, only 8 to 10 which were cleared. The soil was light and sandy and strewn with many stones and rocks. The buildings, a small wood frame barn and a log house without running water or electricity, were the total assets of the farm. I immediately sought work in the Kimberly-Clark paper mill in Niagara and was hired to work a 12-hour day for 25 cents an hour. In meager income allowed us to purchase a team of horses, several cows, basic machinery and supplies to begin farming on a small scale.
After moving to Niagara, we had 6 children in 10 years. Between 1919 and 1929, we added Alice in 1919, Marietta here in 1920, Norma in 1923, Teresa in 1926, Roland, our precious Roland, in 1928, died at birth. Then our baby Kenneth was born in 1929. The 20s were roaring for us. We were thriving. We had our farm and we were selling vegetables and milk. We had Joe there working at the paper mill and we were making wine. It was the Prohibition and we were making good money. We were able to put electricity into the house. We bought our first car. We put an addition on the house. We bought more land. They were good times for us. In 1932, the Depression hit our family. Our Joe here was called into the office at the paper mill and laid off. He was told, you have a farm, you have land, you can make your living there. The people in town have nothing. And there was no aid back then. There was no help for the people. So we were without money. I am going to let my daughter Marietta here tell you how it was to be a child in those times.
I was born in 1920, and I think it was a very fortunate time to be born because the next 10 years of my life was really living in prosperous times. We got new clothes when we needed it. We got new shoes when we needed it. We were able to go to movies. We just had a wonderful, easy time. And I think the Roaring 20s got their name partly because it was the time of 4 years after the First World War ended, and Henry Ford was making about his millionth Model T car, and people were able to start buying cars, and he was also paying $5 a day for work, and everybody else was probably earning 2 or 3 at the most. So it was prosperous times for everybody, and people were able to buy cars and get around and go visit relatives and go to lakes, and it was a real wonderful time to be born. It was also the time of we call it the Roaring 20s, and it was the time of the Charleston dance. My older sister was able to go to dances a couple times every week or so and wear these beautiful dresses, and I thought, oh, someday I'm going to be able to do that, but it never happened because of the Depression. But everything was really fine until 1932 when my dad lost his job at the mill, but after that we had to work instead of play. So we were all young teenagers, and my parents tried every different thing to be able to earn a couple of dollars. My mom started raising chickens, hundreds and hundreds of them, which were harvested in the fall, and I think they had chicken dinner on many, many tables because of our chickens. And my mom also planted a big, big garden, and of course the weeding and the hoeing and the hilling in the garden was a constant work for us. We also picked berries for my mom to can and cherries for her to make jelly. And it was a time of work. And treated to the family to castor oil every once in a while to keep us healthy. And believe me, it had such terrible taste that we stayed healthy so we wouldn't have to take it.
Well, Marietta's right. We had to work hard. Many times I'd wake them up early before the sun came up to send them off to pick berries. I would make baked goods and we would sell them around Christmas time so I could buy them necessities for Christmas. We were God-fearing people. We walked to church every Sunday as a family. We did honor the Lord's Day. No matter how much work there was to be done, we did not labor on the Lord's Day. We had picnics, we'd go swimming, we would go ice skating, we'd play games, we played hard, we worked hard. We taught our children to respect themselves and to respect others. We taught them to be self-sufficient. We valued education, and we made every opportunity available for our children to get an education. And we told them, if you don't apply yourself in school, we have a lot to apply you to at home. Unfortunately, I have sugar diabetes, and the doctors tell me to take care of myself and not to eat sweets and all the good baked goods that I make. But I don't listen because I want to eat what I want to eat.
That's not good.
And I die at the young age of 58 when my youngest child is 20. I had a good life. I accomplished a lot in my 58 years.
After Elma died in 1949, I spent the last 20 years of my life living with my daughter, Marie, and her husband, Vaco, and family. I gave the farm to Joe Jr. and his new bride, Faye, and spent my last days helping around the farm, fishing, and visiting with family. In the Niagara area, we are known by the surname Van Hulla. The real family name is Van Hulle, but because of a spelling error on an official paper, Joseph and Elma accepted and used the Van Hulla spelling. Many relatives live in O'Connor, all of whom have the Van Hulle last name.
I am the last member of our family, and I want to thank Mama and Papa for the wonderful, all the years of toil that they did for us. They always taught us to be good Christians, and I thank them for the fact that almost all of us got a good education. And thank you, Mama and Papa.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.